What it do, gang? We back with another one, man. That's this time we with Sadiapsychology. Y'all have seen her before. She's been making her runs. Um, I don't know where she came from for real. I haven't done much research, but she's been doing her thing for sure. Beautiful Middle Eastern woman. I think she said she's from the Middle East. Um, Giving us game, on her perspective as a beautiful woman in where I think she lives now, Dubai. Where most of the a lot of wealth is there. So she has a very unique perspective on the dating game and how women think of her caliber. She is a psychologist, I assume. Um, some of her viewpoints I don't agree with 100%. So there are some areas in which we can kind of cover, some gray areas we can cover. By understanding the perspective of both sides of men and women in different calibers. But right now she's talking about how to um, get the woman you want or the partner you want as a man from her perspective. So it should be good. You could probably drop some gems for us. Like, comment, subscribe. And let me know what y'all get out of this. What y'all wrote down in the notepad.
A little bit to men becoming better with women. I'm not talking the bedroom, but just getting experience with beautiful women. I think there's an element of how do I do it? And a lot of guys are waiting. It's like, I'm going to get wealthy and become high value, and then I'm going to focus on women. Sometimes those guys become that and they're awkward and weird with women. So what would your advice be for men to start to become better, build charisma, build a certain energy with women, know how to...
Before you even start, I already know I know what he's saying. I would say just flirt with life in general. I can't remember where I heard that, but it's a quote that I heard in a YouTube video. But just flirt with life, man. Like, talk to anybody, talk to them anywhere, as much as you can. Go to places where you'll find attractive women, attractive people. And just talk to people who you feel like are in the realm in which you want to achieve, in the realm in which you want to live. And it just becomes easier for real. Like, I used to do crazy shit when I was on my network, when I was in my networking bag. Like, I didn't have anything to my name for real. Cool apartment, studio apartment, internship, interning at a decent 500, Fortune 500 company. But I wasn't making shit. My rent was like 90 some dollars a month. This is back when Atlanta was really fucking cheap. And they had a partnership with the intern program. My apartments had a partnership with them. So we got cheaper rent. And no car. My little lemon that I bought and fixed on, that shit actually got stolen after it broke down on the side of the highway. Niggas stole it. I really just wanted my speakers out of it for real. I don't want nothing else but my speakers, but they grabbed my shit. But that didn't stop me, bro. Like, I was on a mission to learn as much as I could from whoever I could while I was in the city and while I was living in the A. So we were on the 9th floor of a corporate building, and a few floors up was a marketing company. And I would just go up there and they would have like the latest technology. They were on 3D printing before it was a thing. They were into a whole bunch of shit, marketing wise. And I would just go up there and randomly just talk to the front desk clerk and was like, yeah, I want to come back and do a tour. And then within an hour or two on my lunch break, I went back downstairs, grabbed some colleagues of mine that were interning with me too, and was like, yo, y'all come up here and, see what's up. Like, come kick it. And I want to say somebody got an internship based off of that meeting that I essentially started. Somebody got an internship with the company, and they were shadowing people within the company. So it was cool as fuck to be able to be the dot connector, and that's kind of what I am now, what I enjoy doing. But it didn't matter who I talked to. It didn't matter how attractive they were. It didn't matter what their status was. And I've also worked in hotels. I don't care, bro. Like, you're a regular person at the end of the day. So I think that's the foundation of it, is just understanding that these are regular people. And there is no perfect thing to say. There is no perfect thing to do. Just be you, be confident. And if you aren't that well with people being you and you're not that confident, learn, teach yourself, or go find a teacher.
Operate well with women. Do you have any advice for men like that?
Embrace rejection. And what I mean by this is our identity is defined by what we reject. Yeah. So if I reject carbs and sugar, I'll have a great body. If I reject alcohol and nights out, I'll sleep better, whatever it is. So what happens is that rejection is something we have to embrace in order to evolve. Now, when we use pornography or when we use wealth to attract women, what will happen is you're still not accessing or embracing rejection. You're kind of putting buffers up so that she can't reject you. And this is why a lot of rich men use escorts. They still create a buffer to prevent the rejection process. Now, when we prevent ourselves from being rejected, we prevent ourselves from learning the intricacies of women. We are just literally getting a robotic response from women, and therefore we can't actually engage with them authentically. But when you embrace rejection, you try and meet a girl and she says no to you, you learn, oh, that's weird. Why did she say no to me? I wonder what was going on. You learn through those things. And then eventually you realize that if a girl rejects me, I don't die. Nothing. I carry on with my day.
But it feels like it.
It feels like it, but it's reality. She will reject many men, and she'll end up maybe with a man half of who you are. Acceptance and rejection process is not to do with the quality of the man; it's to do with her own self-esteem. If she meets a high quality,
Yeah, ain't no telling what. Ain't no telling why she rejected you. It could have been wrong time of the month. It could have been wrong time in the fucking day. It could have been anything, bro. Like, but it doesn't matter for real. Like, just doesn't matter. There's a lot of people on this planet, you know. Maybe, yeah, there are fewer people who have the aesthetic and style and conversational skills and interests that you have. Sure, it dwindles down, but not by much. And after a while, you may figure out that that's not what you need. You know, the more you may get rejected at the start, and it's like, okay, let me pivot. Then you meet somebody and that goes well, and then 2 weeks in, it's just like, damn, okay, that fell through. Then you find somebody a month, 2 months, 6 months, then that falls through. Like, damn, okay, and then you just keep learning and tailoring yourself to what it is that you like and what genuinely works for you and works well for you. Like for me, I know I like to balance out my kind of serious, can definitely be boring at times, life, and I can definitely be antisocial. To balance that out, I need a partner who's like very fun, outgoing, charismatic in a way, funny. Like if you can make me laugh, I'm serving you as much dick as you want. If you can make me laugh and you're attractive, you're cute, you stay in shape, like you're fit, and I have a kind of a body type. Although I don't have a type that I don't care enough to like, I only want this type, but I do have a type that I know so far meshes well with me and goes pretty far. And that's like petite, cute, somewhat a little too goofy. They usually come in the form of a Pisces or a Scorpio so far. Really down to earth, natural, can wear makeup or not, natural hair, don't do too much when it comes to like weave and all of that shit. Natural body, loves being out in the sun and just like thriving and very high in energy. I need that because in certain areas of my life, I can be that way. When it comes to bedroom, high energy, I love being engaged, like take me out of my mind for however long we do this. Kind of nerdy, quirky, have something very unique about them that isn't in most copy paste, just your average woman. And sometimes that comes with with a caveat because you know they're also probably not mentally stable that much, or financially stable, or or emotionally stable or delusional to some kind of degree. But, everybody not going to be perfect. You just got to see what the threshold is for you and what you're willing to deal with. But yeah,
man, but she doesn't feel deserving of it. She'll look for that bum that can't hold down a job. Or if she's got high standards and entitled, she'll meet a high quality man and then still ruin his life. It's really about her own self-esteem. So rejection isn't personal, but it is a recipe for a growth. And when we accept it, we start to realize it's not that bad. It's not that bad. So what man doesn't get rejected by women? What woman doesn't reject a man, or vice versa? We all experience it. The ability to
I don't know where my man's is though. Like, is that a bunker or some shit? It's kind of clean. I ain't gonna lie, but that he got to be in like Germany or somewhere. Like, where the fuck is he? What kind of room is that?
understand the suffering of rejection is better than the suffering of becoming awkward and avoiding. There's suffering in both. Yeah, if I suffer through rejection, at least the outcome is resilience. If I suffer through being awkward, the outcome is I'm going to be used and abused.
Yes, and I'm going to have low access to choice, which means when I find the one beautiful woman, I'm going to let her use and abuse me. I agree completely with that.
She can smell that from a mile away.
So one of the things that I did, I had a powerful experience when I was in college. I grew up in a Christian family, 3 older sisters. A lot of my siblings waited until they were married, so a very traditional household. I hadn't done that, but I was living with a roommate in college who I can quite literally say he was having more threesomes than I was getting phone numbers from women. And so in my early 20s, I was thinking, I don't understand this game. I don't understand how this works. I'm the guy who shows up with the flowers. I'm the guy who compliments her and does all this. And so my journey in understanding women and understanding dating was actually to seek what you just talked about there, a lot of rejection. So I even totaled it and counted it. I did over 2,000 what you call cold approaches, like going to women in the bar, the street during the daytime, and I didn't drink for it either. And what I found through that process is it wasn't only an understanding to really understand what women respond to, not what they say, but also an understanding of my own psychology and the energy I show up with, and how it's so much less about the words I say. It's so much less about the clothes I wear or the watch on my wrist, but it's really about the energy I emit in the actual presence of that woman. I love what you're saying. I agree with it completely. I think it comes down to, are you willing as a man to face rejection? And if you are, the inevitable is going to be you getting better.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and I agree. What happens with women, very little of their attraction is based on how you treat them, and entirely based on who you are as a man. So women will be attracted to a man that doesn't reply to them, but if she sees him as a valuable man, she'll form a pseudo attraction to him. And another guy can be treating her really well and all of those things, but if she doesn't see you as valuable, she'll see it as an insult that you're treating her well.
Which is why you should be on your shit, bro. This is literally why. If you're on your shit, you doing what you got to do, and they trust that you're on the path to success of any kind. Doesn't have to be anything grandiose or no shit like that. It's easier for them to fantasize about what it is that you're doing, where you're spending your time, and how your day is going. And they look forward to you coming to them with this news or with a conversation or with whatever, because they trust that you're actually doing what the fuck you need to do. They aren't the main focus or priority. When you've made that known that they are the main focus and priority, that's when shit crashes. So when you come and you're on a first or second date and you're just doing a little too much and you don't know this person, they haven't been deserving of any of these things that you're giving them or doing. That shows up. And that slowly turns them off. It turns them the opposite way. Versus somebody who's made it clear that they have boundaries and that you don't simply just get something from me just by showing up and being beautiful. And I have other things that are at a higher priority than you or pussy or any other woman walking around that could be attractive to me. They respect that more. So the flowers feel different. The compliments hit different. The time hits different when it's from someone that you respect and they've given you reason to over and over and over again.
So
Yes.
what will happen is they are attracted to you, and like I said, your willingness to walk away, your willingness to know that you're not actually there to gain her approval. You're there to create a connection. If she's not reciprocating it, the outcome of creating a connection can't happen. So you no longer want her. But the man that wants her, and that's more important than creating a connection, he will find himself in these awkward situations. Whereas when
That shit is facts, bro. If you ever think about a time where you went through some shit with a girl, whether she lost respect for you or interest or sexual attraction, it's because of your inability to actually say, fuck that. Like, I'm not gonna continue trying to get through to you unless you reciprocate the connectivity that I'm trying to have with you. If you're not trying to reciprocate that, you don't respect me, you don't show up for me the way that I want you to, then to hell with you and whatever the fuck you came with. And they don't respect anything else other than that. So you trying to consistently show up after somebody's blocked you out in whatever way, that is just a turnoff. It does the opposite of what it is that you assume that it's doing.
the reality is, me, you, every man, every woman, the outcome in life we should be seeking is a good, healthy connection. If somebody is not reciprocating it and not giving us the same energy, no matter how much we try, they're not going to give us that outcome. So they're going to give us a different outcome, which might be rejection, or it might be, oh, I get to sleep with a hot girl, or it might be, I get to be with a rich man. But it doesn't give us the long-term outcome of a healthy relationship. And if you make that your outcome, you will start to detach from people and focus on the goal. And then that way you won't be so worried when you get rejected.
Wow, I love that. Making it not about this specific person, but the actual end goal being that deeper connection.
Yeah. And if somebody's rejecting you, they're actually just redirecting you to your outcome. They're almost giving you a shortcut to the outcome. Like, I can spend 6 months trying to court somebody and then end up single, or they reject me after 10 minutes. I'm like, oh, okay, now I'm back to trying to find my outcome. It's not about the goal. It's about the outcome.
That. I love that. And what a beautiful way of viewing it. Thank you for helping me get to my outcomes.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you see it. Thank you. You've redirected me.
Beautiful. I have a couple questions for you. You know, one thing that always fascinates me, and I think for a lot of men, we're fascinated by it, is the idea of women really liking things like 50 Shades of Grey. In the movie 365, if you've seen that movie, why is there a deep primal attraction, maybe sexual attraction, to these type of movies? I don't know if you're familiar with both of those or the book 50 Shades.
Most of the books, most of the fantasy books, some of the awkwardest, weirdest, quirkiest shit you'll read either was written by a woman or read by majority women. So this is like a million wicked thoughts tells you. My Secret Garden tells you, like, these were written years ago, and I think My Secret Garden I seen an interview with her in like the 90s or something. So she's been talking about the fantasies that women have and their ability to fantasize, and that's why they love these big ass books that they read, and they get so enthralled and caught up with shit like Harry Potter and Twilight and shit like that. It's because they like to fantasize. So if you can't play to their fantasies and you can't use that to your advantage, it's going to be very, very hard. Me being a dom for as long as I have, and me knowing how to tie rope, and me knowing different forms of play, whether it be impact or whether it be different forms of kink, whether it be knowing how to talk a woman through certain things and teaching women certain things. You have to know how to do these things and study these things in order to really understand. So hopefully she has a gem for why this is, but you'll learn the more you talk to women in an intimate way. It'll be easier for you to know why it is that they like these things. But there's also science behind it too.
I know roughly, but is the sex in there harmful, or what is it that makes women attracted? Like, could you give me a summary of it?
My perspective on it is it tends to be a guy who's a bit dangerous. Like, he has the power to do what he wants with her. In both these
Dark triad
situations, he can kill her if he wants to. He can do whatever he wants with her, but he's choosing to be kind, or he's choosing to love her. And there's an element of total control that he takes. There's an element of power he has over her. There's an element of danger with him as well.
Sounds like Beauty and the Beast, does it not? Sounds like a lot of fucking fairy tales from a while back. Like, it's all the same. It's power dynamics, man. That's all it simply is. And that's why I love the BDSM community so much. Because the more you understand power dynamics and how to, in a very healthy way, display power dynamics, and it could change and vary, and you can calibrate it to each person, that each partner that you have, and learn even more about yourself. It's just fucking, it's fantastic. And questions like this are easily explained. And when you see someone who has a certain type of characteristic in and outside of the bedroom or in and outside of intimacy, you can calibrate yourself, and your partner can do the same a lot easier because you understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Where they don't know what he's going to do. Is he going to take advantage of me or not? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think what they're really looking for is to feel special. Now, when a man treats most women badly, but treats you well, or you have the capacity to unlock a side of him that most women haven't, it's their own egotistical drive to feel special. Whereas if he's nice to everybody and good to everybody, and he was good to his ex, and he's good to his mother-in-law, and he's good to a colleague, what happens is the reason why women get less drawn to that is because they don't feel as special. Whereas when he's that difficult man, he's difficult with her, he hated her, treated her badly, I feel special. So they end up being attracted to that. But the reality is that man that is difficult and then is nice to you, although you feel special for 5 minutes, you're going to have to live with this volatile man.
That is not 100. That wasn't a great way of explaining that answer. I think he may have been able to elaborate a little bit more. To a degree, she is right. Women love degrees of separation. I hate when I double up on words. I just said to a degree she's right, and then followed up with fucking. But anyway, yes, to an extent, women love degrees of separation. Like, they want to feel special in some kind of way. And me being poly and having 3, I want to say at the max 4. They weren't. I would say non-monogamous dating. About 4 partners at a time. Each of them I knew were ready to be in a relationship, but they didn't understand it was only because I was dealing with more than one that it kept me sharp enough to know what made them special within our dynamic. Instead of me getting bored, because I will get bored, it just kept me on my toes. And I was also on a mission too, so it kept me away for a healthy amount of time. To me, maybe to them it wasn't, but 2-3 weeks at a time, like, I'm out, I'm doing my thing. Well, yeah, I don't know. I can go months without, and I love the solo travel and shit like that. But yeah, it would keep me on my toes to understand what parts of them they wanted me to speak to. And some of it across the board was just like, hey, reassurance, intimacy, affection, time. Those are the things they wanted. Now, they also see me spending time and being affectionate with other people too. So it would be little shit like, oh, one was into this type of animal and had this type of business. This one was into this type of business, and we could talk about these things, and we would go to these types of events. Like, I understand her saying that they want to feel special. That is a piece of it. But to his point, I think it really is just the attraction to power dynamics and understanding that you have a dangerous man who's choosing. The way you get to I would say the softest man in the world at some point was also the most dangerous man in the world. He just chose not to continue being dangerous, at least around his woman or his partner or his children. When he's outside and he's in their world, and he's on his mission. He's probably the most fucking cutthroat person possible. You know, whether it be having to lay off employees or having to renegotiate a contract or having to get in somebody's ass for not completing something that they said they were going to do. So, yeah, to some degree, she's saying that this disagreeable man, because he's moving in the world like this, that may come back to you, that energy may come back to you. But if you're a woman who is compatible with this man and he loves you, for me, men tend to love. I see men tend to love super hard, and I'm the same way, which is why I have to be careful about who I get attached to. When you are that way with a woman, and she know how to turn all that shit off, it's nothing. The disagreeableness will only come if she is also adding friction to the dynamic instead of taking it away when I come to my abode or home. Because I'm already fighting other shit. I don't want to come here and also do the same thing.
And it's not a good look. You're better off with a man that has a stable sense of values and treats everybody well. Women in general, love is a bit more egotistical than we realize. And we value the idea of feeling special more than the actual outcome of a good connection. So when we meet a man who's typically mean, he's typically mean to previous girls, typically mean to other people in general, but he shows us snippets of kindness, it makes us feel more special, so we attach to him. Whereas the man that is kind to the co-worker, kind to his exes, kind to his mother-in-law, we don't feel as special, and therefore we're less attracted. But the reality is, again, it takes you away from that long-term outcome. If the long-term outcome is a healthy relationship, the guy that is selectively kind will also be selectively kind with you in the long run, and you won't be able to sustain it. So that
I don't think being kind and standing on business. As one would say, being kind and also knowing when to turn that shit off, because not everyone deserves your 100% just kindness. Like I can move through the world as a blunt, very direct motherfucker. Like, and I don't have to I don't have to be that way with, the housekeeper or janitor, or I don't have to be that way with the waiter or anything like that, because they're actually serving a purpose for me. Now, if they choose to deliberately not serve a good purpose or a good service to me, then yeah, I'm gonna have to turn that kindness off. Now, the women you're with just want to know you have the ability to be like, nah, you're going to get my woman's order right. Nah, you're not going to talk to her any kind of way. You're not going to talk to me any kind of way. Like, I'm just not going to take any shit. I'm not just going to take anything. And that'll also make her feel special, because it's like, okay, well, this nigga, he's choosing everything else and setting a standard for everything else. So he chose me, then that means that I must meet that standard too. So I don't think it is 100% the way that she's saying it now, because I think there's a way to radiate that energy of just being a don't fuck with me type of dude, but also gentle and kind and generous and just an overall good human. Because I agree, you do want good connection, and it should be steady. But this yin and yang, it just has to be a steady flow of it, and knowing when to turn it off and when to turn it on. Turn off the dark side and turn on the dark side.
5 minutes of feeling special is going to lead to a lifetime of emotional volatility. It's better to be with a guy that is consistently kind. But when women, especially when they don't normally feel special and they've got low self-esteem, when a horrible man is nice to you, oh my God, I must be so special. So they attach to that.
Wow. I love that. Mm-hmm. If he's selectively kind to other people, he will be selectively kind to you as well. Yeah. Powerful. What questions do you have for me, Afeni?
Oh God, I don't usually get a chance to ask any questions, but when in your work, in your line of like working with successful men, do you believe that men are honest with each other about what's going on in their relationships?
It depends on the space. The community that I have and that we've created, we go through a process of open kimono where it's one man speaks his truth to the group. And it's very clear when you have like 10 or 15 guys on a call and they're hearing one man speak, you can tell if he's actually coming from truth or if he's lying. Even by the sound of his voice, even by the way he's answering questions. In general, I think a lot of men in their friend groups don't. But when men have a very tight-knit group or community that's meant to make them closer, they will be honest because they have to be. Because people will call them out if they're not.
Yeah, one of the things that these men in general, online especially, are suffering from is they don't have the space to be honest. So the reason my perspective tends to challenge what's going on is because they can only be honest to me. You're not going to pay for a phone call and speak to a woman about your problems and then lie about it. You have to be honest. So that when I come out and say this is what's happening, it's seen as so groundbreaking. But it's only because when they all sit around a microphone and do a podcast, they'll be like, we want to go with low body count, but really they're in love with an escort. And they're like, we don't want to go with my friends. But really she slept with his friend way before she met him. So they lie. They lie so much. And the narrative is always women lie. Nobody lies more than a man who has a microphone on a podcast with a bunch of other men. Yeah, unfortunately, because they want to sell that macho-ness, but they don't want to sell the reality. And I really think it's time for men to be a little bit more honest. And I know it's very emasculating and stuff, but if they can't be honest with their friendship.
That's also not true at all. Because you can say you can actually feel, you can feel one way. You can lie and have done something previously, but that doesn't mean that that's what you wanted. You're just as fucked up as the other person giving advice, but you don't have a solid team around you that lets you know, like, no, you actually find it okay to be with someone with a high body count, or if you don't find it okay in your world, then why are you with this person? Maybe you invested a little too early. Maybe you become attached. Maybe you're going against your own morals or your own standards. Maybe you don't know how to create boundaries. So they may actually feel this way. They may actually believe these things. They just don't practice what they believe. And if that's the case, why are you not practicing that? You know, you may really enjoy this person and really like this person. And if you've crossed your boundaries in the name of love and attachment, then you should probably sit down with a psychologist, I guess, or a counselor, or with your team, or with his group, and discuss why it is that this person has gotten you to step over your own boundaries. But I don't think men sitting around and having these discussions will make them, I would say, hypocritical. Definitely hypocrites, but not liars. To some degree, some of them definitely are, but I wouldn't chalk that up to men sitting around and having these discussions as majority liars. They may actually believe and practice what they do, but every so often you have some that'll slip through the crack and fuck up. And your fuck ups should be allowed. We've allowed a lot of fuck ups for the other side, that's for sure. But nobody really acknowledges it.
Try and seek help. Try and seek somebody that you can be, because you need a sounding board. And so many times they're with the wrong type of woman, they're being used and abused. And, it's good men that find themselves in these positions, because good men see the best in people and they give people chances and they want to believe their partner. So it's usually the good men that suffer the most, but try not to. Try and find some honest space, especially a platform like you've created where there's no judgment. We're here to heal. And I think that's really helpful for them.
And
I think that's actually what's fucking a lot of people up. They aren't being judged. Nah, we gotta bring judgment back, bro. Bring judgment back, gang. Like, niggas out here doing the most for somebody who can give a fuck about them. I don't know, like paying for OnlyFans and shit like that, like dishing out money that you could be investing or saving, or you fucking up your family because you're just spiraling downward, and you think the only solution is to pay for this experience that you want to have. whatever that experience is. It doesn't even have to just be sex. It could be whatever, drugs, any kind of escapism outside of healthy ones that can get you back on track. Nah, bring judgment back, bro. Like we doing too. We having too less of judgments. If that's a good sentence structure. We're absent of judgment right now. So yeah, we need to bring that back just a little bit.
I love that. I love what you brought up too. And
Because we swung to the other side way too far.
I know that one of the services you offer is that space for the one-to-one coaching where a man can come and be completely vulnerable and honest about what's going on. I think that is just such a powerful tool that every man should make use of, is to have that space.
And especially if you're paying for escorts, that's what I always say to them. Like, you can pay my fees. If you're going to pay for an escort, and then you can pay for a one-to-one with me, and you can at least then release all that tension and all that stuff, and put your money in constructive places.
The solutions really ain't that hard, man. Like, it's really not. A lot of this shit you can find online, just like you found the fucking escort. You can find a lot of this shit in the same places.
And you will see that it will benefit you in the long run. If you put it in the wrong woman, you'll be left with nothing, emotionally and financially.
That makes complete sense. I have a question. We talked a little bit about some of the men in the manosphere today. I want to get your take on the Fresh and Fit podcast and the advice they give around women and kind of like keeping her at bay, just giving her enough. What's your take on that type of language and that type of guidance?
Well, the thing is, again, like I said, that advice, if you have this idea, treat them mean, keep them keen, and I know lots of men follow this advice, what happens is you'll only attract a broken woman. And you can never fix a broken woman, because here's the reality. Healthy women don't accept inconsistency. Healthy women don't accept poor behavior. So when you meet a healthy woman who wants the outcome of a good relationship and wants to be monogamous and wants to have a family and wants to be there for you, if you are taking ages to reply, talking to other girls in front of her, having sex with lots of women, she filters herself out of that situation. She can't cope with that chaos. But if you have this treat and mean, keep them keen, and she gets more attached to you, this is a woman who's designed for chaos. So even when you decide to stop playing this game and you want to settle down and have a baby, she will then be creating the chaos in the form of having sex with other men, talking back to you, coming home late, because you have now filtered out healthy women and are only going to attract broken women. So I don't agree with it.
Wow. Mic drop.
I do what I do.
I don't think that's the sentiment that Fresh and Fit is actually. It sounds bad most times, but I don't think that's the sentiment that they're actually going for, to be honest. It's because I could say I've probably attracted a lot of different types of women in different stages of their life, but the keep them at bay thing is simply just you should be focused on the mission, so much so that you don't even have time to. I mean, you do, and it's very intentional and deliberate, but most of your time should not be going to I guess, easy, for lack of better words, just being laid up. Because if you give them that time, you give them that attention, and you allow them that space, they will take it. They will take it as long as you're willing to give it to them. I've seen this happen outside with myself and outside of in friend groups and in different relationships that I watched in my personal life. And even if she is good with working with you, and I've had those types of relationships where both business minded. I mean, I've gotten business shit for my birthday and all kinds of shit. Like she trademarked my podcast logo and everything. Like handled all the paperwork. Like super fucking dope. And I'm forever. That's a relationship that will forever be bonded. But compatibility wise, there was still a lot to work on as far from. Yeah, it was still a lot to work on. And she was actually okay with the distance, me focusing on what I needed to focus on, because she also had shit she needed to focus on. But naturally, they will want your time, attention, any kind of resource that you can give, that you will give willingly. They will want it. So keeping them at bay simply just means I'm focusing on what I need to focus on, whether it be my health, wealth, whether it be my health and wealth, and she's a part of that process. But on the priority list, it's not number one. So, and naturally that will keep them at bay, and naturally they will yearn to want to connect with you as much as they can when you allow them to. I don't really see anything wrong with that at all. And I don't think that attracts just broken women. Maybe it does. Maybe broken women cling on more. But I don't see, I think any, even if you're living together, I'd have to still work in an office. I'd still have to go and do my hobbies. I'd still have to create space and time away so that, you can actually think about me. You can actually miss me. You can actually have time to focus on what you need to focus on and enjoy my presence when I come back. So, yeah, I don't know what she was speaking to specifically, but what he brought up, she kind of converted into this treat them mean, and they come back type of thing. I think women do think it is mean. I think they assume that it is mean that you don't want to talk to me for majority of the day, or it's mean that you don't show emotional capacity for everything that I'm trying to express. To some degree, they do. They will feel like you're being mean, but we just don't operate the same way.
I need to go on this show at some point. It's just that it's so lowbrow. I just don't want to be sat next to a bunch of OnlyFans girls and porn stars, not because I have any judgment towards them, but it's my religious values and stuff. I can't be in that circle in a big thing, but I really do want to go on this show. So we'll see. We'll try.
I love that. Yeah, and I do.
That would be fire. I would actually like to see her on the show. So I hope they definitely have been watching her and make that happen. But I don't understand I don't know what her religion has to do with being around groups of people of different walks of life. And she's a psychologist. I don't know how that works, because I'm sure she gets calls from different people. So why could you not have a conversation with different people? Now, I mean, the drinking and all of that, or drinking and smoking, you don't have to partake. And they may cut that out. They may keep that away from that specific show or episode. So
We're on the low brow. I think it's worth it for you to get in there and give the right message, but it is a bit much.
I wouldn't feel clean afterwards. That's the only problem.
To the mosque immediately afterwards.
I think so. I don't know. I think I would really feel dirty afterwards, but I should try. I should try and bury that. But at the moment, I think because my parents were.
I don't understand the positioning of herself. She tends to do this where she talks from a certain position, a higher position than. I mean, they're just regular ass people, just like her. I don't understand why you would. I mean, I get it. It's almost like walking through Babylon, but I mean, Christians did it. Fucking your greatest teachers on the planet have walked with the common man. It should not. It shouldn't feel that distasteful. You're just simply having a conversation. I don't think they would have you do anything else. But understand the thoughts that are going through these people's heads. But it can be a bit lowbrow, so I understand that, and it does attract a specific type of persons. So I understand that piece too, but I wouldn't feel dirty about it. It's just understanding where everyone comes from.
Keep an eye on everything I do. I have to just be a little bit mindful.
for sure.
Well, yeah, she does. She does have a practice too. So, or she does get that piece of paperwork, so she can't just be attached to anything. Sure.
One final question, and then I have a couple questions about your services that I want to go into. For a man who is wanting to date higher quality women, maybe women who would quote unquote out of his league, what is your advice to him? How can he start to be on that path to attracting more attractive women, more quality women? What can he do?
When it comes to women that are out of your league, when you let them know and make them believe they are out of your league, they will treat you accordingly. Whereas when you're a man who, even when she's out of your league, you give the impression that you're used to this is just how women come for you, then what will happen is she will feel lucky. The last thing you want to do is be in a relationship where a woman is not as attached to you as you are to her. And there is a myth that like the man should love the woman more and that's how it should be. It's the opposite in the real world. In the real world, in order for a relationship to last, it either has to be equal or the woman has to attach to the man more. With men, they're quite good at being complacent. So if they're not madly in love with a woman, but they've got kids and they don't want to go through the rigmarole of a divorce or whatever it is, they can stay put for quite some time.
This is probably the one time she hit the nail on the head. You cannot, because even when it comes down to just having the options that you have, you can get tempted by those options. Now, women can be, if they really, but only if they're attached to you way more, will they go blind to all of their options, bro. I've never seen that shit happen. Ever. I've never seen it happen unless it was this way. Every woman that I've seen at the peak of their attractiveness and attachment to me, were they the most committed. Like, whatever I needed, however I needed it, it only happened then. And as that started to dwindle, I've had women go from 0 to like 100% interest, or 0 to 50. They've gone from friends with benefits to assuming that I'm some kind of fucking beta male provider, or some kind of like I've risen their interest after letting them know like, hey, yeah, this is the process I want to go on. It's not, you're not going to get more out of me than you think you are. Like, it's not happening that way. This is how much I'm going to give, whether it be of attention, dates, like you're on the program that I laid out. Like, it's not going to go any different than that. So I've had them go from, okay, well, he's not doing that shit. So then they grow even more attractive to, damn, I really only just wanted to fuck him for real. We're having a good time. But now I see myself actually wanting a relationship with the nigga. And then seeing their peak attachment and attractiveness to me and how they behaved. And then as time go on, seeing it drop and revert, or seeing it stay there, but we just ended it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Because they're so emotionally attached now that they can't even control themselves when certain shit happens, or when they see you doing certain things. So I've had that range of relationship styles happen, and none of it feels as good as peak attachment to you. None of them are ready to have your kids or talk about marriage or talk about longevity. The what are we talks, none of that happens until they've grown a high attachment and attraction and love for you and respect for you. Otherwise, you could easily end up that way, but because you don't even have that many options, it's dangerous for you to be that attached, because if they rip themselves out of your life, men are willing to crash out about the shit. Especially if you're so invested with children and marriage and shit like that. That men have definitely self-deleted because of this.
With women, if they feel like this, they're not in love, they will damage an entire family system to go find that guy that they're in love with.
Yeah.
So you are setting yourself up for so much danger if you want to be with a girl that's out of your league and she knows it. Even with my partner, I'll use him as an example. Maybe to somebody else on a looks version, and not to me, but somebody else might say, oh, she's, how'd you get her and blah, blah. But I've never felt that with him because he never gave me the energy that I was out of his league. He was never in awe of me. He was never like, oh my God, Sadia, if anything, I'm the one that's like. So what happens is it's psychological. You create a connection where she feels lucky to have you, even if she's out of your league. And then what will happen is you maintain the power dynamics. But if she's out of your league and you're going to worship her, the relationship won't be worth it. I promise you. You don't.
Biggest facts. Biggest facts. And you know how you can do that? I've been in dynamics where there was a clear separation of range. Like where there'd have been, especially when it comes to careers. Like I've had women in very cool ass careers. Like they're super professional, high ranking, or just badass at what they did. And they've all been with me through different phases of my life where they've been like the shit phase where I'm just eating shit for half a year or a year at that point, and I'm just like, bruh, work isn't going well, or I'm down on my luck and I can't find shit, especially during COVID, layoffs and shit like that, or recessions happen, and I'm just down on my luck and I'm back at square one. They've never made me feel like anything less, for real. And this is at their peak, like maybe one time, one relationship where the disrespect would just go on overboard. And I'm like, fuck no. Maybe one. Yeah, none of them made me feel like I was less than at all. Through any relationships where there was a large gap in position, career-wise, pay, or I was just at a certain period in life, most of them never made me feel like I was out of their league, or well, most of them never made me feel they were out of my league. Because I always had something to offer. I always knew how to calibrate myself. Whether it was, if I didn't have the finance, I always had the business. If I ain't got the money, I know how to bring you money. If I had the finance and I was lacking anywhere else, or they were better at something else, I would just bring. Okay, well, you got the emotional intelligence, or you have a healthier lifestyle, but here's what I do know how to do. Here's what I can bring. Or, just different shit, just calibrating myself to figure out what I can bring, that'll keep me at the head and what I can lead with, and keeping that power dynamic, and also creating boundaries where their interests never fell below to have them react or act a certain way.
Want it. It will be a damaging relationship.
Powerful. I agree completely. And I think this comes back to the most important concept for men in dating, that's frame.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a man who has a strong frame where he believes and knows exactly who he is, he knows where he's going, and he knows what he deserves. And that frame, when it's felt by a woman, it doesn't matter if...
No matter where you are in life, you understand this.
He maybe doesn't look as good, quote unquote, by society standards. He knows who he is, and he knows what he deserves. And that confidence and that certainness and that groundedness allows a man to be in such a powerful place where it's almost as if a woman falls into that frame and believes it as well.
She'll believe it. And you'll be with girls who are so beautiful, who are crying over a guy that's half of what she has to offer. And you'll say, why are you doing this? But it's because he's convinced her that he can replace her and he has a willingness to walk away if he wants to. So she's almost like, she just forgets, I'm not saying manipulate, but I'm saying become a man that no woman is out of your league. Become a man where even if no woman is out of your league at all, no woman can intimidate you. And if she is out of your league and she starts acting like she's out of your league, I don't want her.
Love that. And it goes back to what you said about finding a woman who's equally as in love with you, or maybe even more in love with you.
Even more.
Or else you're going to have a headache on your hands.
She'll destroy the whole family unit if she has to. So it's dangerous.
This has been incredible. You know, one of the things that I love about the insights that you give is it's clear that it's grounded in experience, both from your own personal experience, but also with clients too. Like I can really feel that. And it's also grounded in some really powerful evolutionary psychology and biology of what women really look for. And I think whenever I'm looking at things through a dating lens, it's always that, you know, what is hardwired in us, both from our past, but also our culture too. Very, very powerful insights you've given here. I want to know more where guys can connect with you, how they can work with you, how they can collaborate with you.
Oh, thank you. So if you do want some online coaching, I recommend for clients with from your background to actually just take a month retainer. In that, you can access me on social media, which will have my link in my bio that will explain my website and also how to book an appointment. And then from there, I tend to be able to evaluate how much you might need. Sometimes you don't need a lot, sometimes you do. And then from there, we can work on a package to outline any of the struggles that you're experiencing and how to resolve them. And I try my absolute best to make sure each session, quite a few problems have been resolved. It's not just, oh, we're talking and seeing how things go. It's very much like, I always say I'm like the McDonald's of therapy. It's like, here you go, here's your food, bye. You know, it's very practical, and I get that feedback constantly. So it's not a case of you're just talking at somebody and they're just saying, how do you feel? It's very much right, let's problem solve. And so hopefully if you do need me, you feel free to contact me through those routes.
And I love that you brought that up too. Obviously, with the psychology background you have, it's still practicality. And I think that's what I love about the advice you're giving here. It's not, we're going to sit down and do therapy for a year. It's, let's get to the root of it.
Nobody's got time for it, especially when you're busy. Nobody's got time to sit there and talk about it for hours on end. You just, how do I fix this? How do I fix this? And so that is definitely the type of advice you'd receive.
And I'll put all the links to your Instagram as well, and also your website too. What else would you like to share or tell people? Is there anything else you would like to?
No, I just think, sometimes if you see my snippets, it can be a little bit triggering. And I trigger a lot of men and I trigger a lot of people. But if you take the opportunity to actually invest in understanding what I mean, I promise you it's there to help you. I don't ever say anything that I wouldn't believe would help you in the long run. So try your best to avoid the triggers and focus on the reason why I'm saying this. And I promise you, you'll find some solace.
Yes. Figure out why you're being triggered. Dive into your own psychology and understand why you're being triggered. I love that. Do you work with women as well, or is it just men?
Yes, I do. I work with men and women. I work with a lot of gold diggers, so I know all of the tricks. So if you ever want to know, because they're on the other line saying, this idiot's paying for the call, so you can take 20 sessions. And he's on the call being like, he's spending my money. And I'm like, oh, perfect. So I work with both of you, I'm afraid. So I have a great insight, but I also work with women, married couples, everybody. Thank you.
That's fire. Y'all go like, comment, subscribe, man. Y'all let me know what gems she gave y'all in this one. This was a good video. It was kind of when it comes to men though, I don't know. It seems a little one-sided when it comes to who's responsible for what. But I understand where that one-sidedness comes from, because at the end of the day, you control what the fuck is going on. You have control of that. You have control over whether you walk away or not because somebody's breached a boundary. You have control over how much you spend or where you place yourself within a relationship dynamic. You have control over that, my nigga. Like, be a leader and grab a hold of your fucking relationships. It's as simple as that. So ain't too much blaming of women you can do. After a while, you either get with the program and you allow them to keep controlling it, or you take control of the shit and change it up. I'll catch y'all on the next one, man. Like, comment, subscribe.